PanTech Chronicles, Book 2, Insurrection, written by F. Lockhaven and M. A. Owens. Chapter 1.
Would any of you like to share a way adversity has affected your life for the better?
The bespectacled professor, standing in the front of the group, had a disturbingly chipper tone. Disturbing in its consistency, at least. Her smile was always bright, and her springy, short, brown hair seemed to bounce as she nodded along with every answer. I hated this part the most. It had only been a few months since I left my parents behind to join PanTech's Animal Research Division, and I've spent most of the time studying independently. They'd given us a tailored curriculum based on our individual abilities, designed to catch us up quickly to everyone else. It was those times, sitting quietly at my desk in my room, talking to Ghost and thinking about Mother and Father, that I found something resembling comfort. I'd learned a great deal about the world's history, PanTech's rise to power, and their wonderful idea of cramming people into historically themed habitats and making their lives miserable like psychopathic pet owners. I could see that it wasn't always smooth sailing, though history is, of course, written by the victor. PanTech had won it all.
Taylor, would you like to share?
My mind snapped back to reality. I fumbled, looking nervously at those around me, hoping to discern some hint from their expression. No such luck.
Sorry. What was the question?
I asked, bracing myself for her response. There was something so apathetic, bitter, and worn in that woman's voice and jovial expression that I think I'd have preferred it if she'd screamed at me or thrown something. Instead, her reactions were so unfitting and predictable that I sometimes questioned if she was a real person, or if any of this was real. PanTech was nothing like the village I'd come from, with tiny homes in the desert, blades as the most advanced weapon, sicknesses and disease so common. PanTech was a bright, inspiring utopia. Or at least that's how they sold it to us.
Oh, it's all right. Don't be embarrassed. I just asked if you could share a way adversity has affected your life for the better.
Should have guessed that's what she'd asked. I had a feeling. The one and only group class that meets once a week, and I get called on every time, and always with questions that made me want to march up to her and sock her in the jaw. At least this would be the last one. Thank goodness.
I'd rather not share if that's all right.
You can't think of a single time adversity has affected your life for the better?
That's not what I said, and she knew it. She was testing me, getting under my skin. Maybe that was it. Her one sick pleasure she had to look forward to every day, making people squirm.
One time I bumped my elbow walking through a door. The next time I walked through a door, I was more careful.
She stared at me. Her smile was unchanging, except for a tiny, teensy bit, just around the eyes. As she opened her mouth to speak, a laugh echoed throughout the room, and quickly silenced itself. Her eyes darted around the room, seizing upon the culprit.
Linda, it seems you'd like our attention. Has Taylor's answer reminded you of a story of your own?
Linda stood up, clearing her throat.
No, sorry. Involuntary reaction.
It seems you haven't experienced the level of adversity some others here have, seeing as you are quick to laugh at the misfortune and challenges of others. I suggest you reflect on where your character is lacking and consider how it might be improved.
This time, it was me fighting back a laugh. Though, unlike Linda, I'd held it in. Linda went rigid, terrified, sending a glance my way that seemed to beg for help. Linda was taller than most men, with platinum blonde hair, sky-blue eyes, and a slight but chiseled frame. Yet, from the way she acted, you'd think she was the tiniest person in the world. She was extremely timid. Still, she'd become one of my only friends here, and had been kind to me since the moment we first met.
It sounds like that's what you're doing, Professor. Linda just has a hard time controlling her reactions to things. How about some sympathy?
I asked, tilting my head. I heard a squeak and turned my head around to see Linda shriveling into herself, looking as though she'd seen a ghost. This was not the help she was hoping for.
Oh, thank you so much, Taylor. It's wonderful when new employees are so helpful, sharing their fresh perspectives with everyone. Therefore, we meet in a group for this class on PanTech values and philosophy. I learn so much every day from all of you. I apologize to you, Linda, if my criticism sounded judgmental.
I seethed. Was she serious? Pantech certainly picked the right woman for the job,
It's all right. No harm done.
Linda said meekly, looking down at her feet. I sighed. There's just no helping some people. I certainly wasn't the first one to try. Just as the thought of this other person popped into my mind, their voice emerged, as if on cue. This time, my friend Joyce spoke up, clearing her throat and standing.
I would like to share if you don't have an objection.
The professor nodded, still smiling. Joyce's skin was several shades darker than mine, and she had bouncy black curls, almost exactly like the professor's. However, those were the things you noticed about Joyce before she spoke. After she spoke,
Even the tense moments we have in these meetings are a sign of strength through adversity at work. Our differences bring us closer together, and our different ways of speaking will be internalized by one another and adopted as our own over time, without us even realizing it. Bit by bit, the pieces make the whole. Even this meeting is designed by PanTech to challenge our tolerance of one another's differences, and we will admire traits we once thought we hated. I just wanted to say that, despite the difficulty we all have with sitting through these meetings, it is easy for me to see how it is improving us as employees of PanTech. Soon,
a buzzer interrupted her, as she had likely planned, sparing Linda and me further negative attention from the professor. Everyone both admired Joyce and suspected her in equal parts. As they liked to say in my village, she had a tongue of solid silver. She could sell adversity to Pantech. More difficult than that, she'd made friends with me. As we all poured into the hallway outside the room, Linda put one arm over Joyce's shoulder and the other arm over mine.
I owe you one, Taylor.
She said, returning to her usual energetic self.
I'm not the one you should thank.
I said.
Why do you think Pinta has it out for me anyway?
She asked, looping her finger around and sticking it into my nose, prompting me to swat her hand away.
swing and a miss.
Joyce said, smiling.
It's not you she has it out for, Goof.
I'm not sure I follow.
Linda admitted.
Come on, girls. Shouldn't we grab lunch before we head back to the lab?
Joyce whined, ignoring Linda's statement completely.
I'd rather not. I've already left Ghost alone for a while to go to this stupid meeting. He hates being cooped up in that room all day.
I said.
Then how about we all go check on your bird, then we can go to lunch?
Linda offered excitedly, craning her head down to smile at me.
And how do I know you won't try to make him your lunch, Linda, like you did the first time we met?
I asked, teasing her. Though I had to admit, I was still a little sore about the whole thing.
Hey, I didn't know he was your pet. It's not like newcomers are running around with pets straight off the transport, you know. I thought he'd flown in. Birds like that are a delicacy in my zone.
Oh, she's just yanking your chain, Ice Princess. Don't get all bent out of shape.
Joyce said, holding back a laugh.
Yanking my what? If you keep purposely using phrases I'm not familiar with, maybe I'll bend you out of shape.
Oh my, our Ice Princess is discovering humor, and she's quite good at it for a beginner.
Joyce said, reaching up awkwardly high to pat Linda on the head. I continued to guide them, probably without them even realizing it, toward my living quarters. The one thing they had in common was how easily they got absorbed into conversations, especially when it involved delivering jabs to one another.
You know, if we keep irritating Professor Pinta like that, they're going to end up sending us over to adversity management. Maybe not Joyce, though. Look at these soft muscles.
Linda said, poking into Joyce's bicep.
Well, we didn't exactly go around fighting everyone in my zone. I was a lawyer, you know. We helped resolve problems in the courts through speaking, not by literally bending our enemies out of shape.
How did you handle enemies in your zone, Taylor?
Linda asked, turning her attention to me, ignoring Joyce.
We didn't really have any. Remember how I told you we were just a small village?
Linda frowned.
So, I guess you've never killed anyone before then? Only 7 for me, truth be told.
My memories came flooding back to me. The night of the exams, when I confronted the leader of our village's rebel group, Ludo, about dooming Linus to death. Whether Ghost landed the killing blow doesn't even matter. I was responsible for it. Yet his death had bothered me far less than Linus's. Then again, it was Linus I was in love with, not Ludo. Thankfully, I'd thought about all of it less and less now that I had complicated work to keep me busy. Until someone said something to bring it all back to me, that is. Not that I'd ever truly forget. I hadn't bothered telling anyone else about it. On the surface, a girl getting revenge on a rebel for harming a PanTech soldier makes me look like the perfect little loyal PanTech employee. Never mind the fact that the reality was the opposite. I didn't have the energy to explain. I zoned out and walked past my door without even realizing it.
Taylor,
Joyce said, leaning around Linda. Huh? I replied, snapping back to the present.
are you all right?
She was frowning now. The question was obviously rhetorical.
Yeah, why?
I attempted to lie anyway. Joyce pointed back behind us.
Don't you live back there?
Oh,
I hung my head, accepting my defeat.
yeah, I do.
Way to go, Ice Princess.
Joyce scolded, flinging Linda's arm off her shoulder. Linda released me with her other arm, placing both hands on her hips, squaring up with Joyce.
Oh, you want to make a go of it, do you? Come on. You and me right here. Loser buys everyone lunch.
We don't even buy lunch here, Frost Giantess. There's no currency. I swear it's like you just got here today. But let an authority figure show up, and you turn into a wet noodle.
All right, that does it.
Linda shouted, taking a step toward Joyce. Before she could take another step, the entire corridor filled with laughter. I recognized the source right away.
Well, if it isn't my three prodigies, so glad I ran into you here.
The man said, turning the corner. He'd probably been listening the whole time. Great. Chapter 2.
Prof.
Linda stammered, taking a step back. Professor Barth looked as though he could be Linda's father. A tall, slender man, with blonde hair he kept in a tight ponytail, and ice-blue eyes. His demeanor was even like hers when no authority figures were around. That, and unlike Linda's playful boasting, Barth was genuinely arrogant. It would annoy me had I not gotten to know the man so well over the past couple of months. His arrogance was well earned.
Just the three unwilling participants I was looking for. I'm flirting with a breakthrough and need some outside hours assistance in the lab if anyone would like to volunteer. Of course, I'm forbidden from forcing you.
Good, because we were just about to go to lunch. I'm sure it can wait.
Joyce said, giving the proposition no thought.
You're such a spoilsport, Joyce. Linda, what about you?
I'm...
I'm sorry. I think you're still a bit too nervous to come by yourself. Give it some time. You'll adjust before long. Taylor?
I took in a deep breath. Of course, the last person to offer an excuse sounds the worst. I shook my head.
I don't mind skipping lunch, but I need to check up on Ghost. Maybe in a couple of hours?
He clutched his chin and jaw with his entire hand, looking the three of us up and down. No doubt he was grappling with his disappointment. Many of the newcomers speculated he was so thin because he rarely sat down for a proper meal. He relied almost entirely on nutrition packs while he was working. These little packs had everything a human needed to be fit and healthy, and provided enough energy that sleep was almost unnecessary. They had all these magical qualities, except for an important one. Regardless of flavoring, they just weren't as appetizing as actual food. We were told we'd get used to the synthetic stuff, and it seemed most did. We newcomers struggled the most.
Right. I know it's difficult for new employees to juggle all their responsibilities. Tomorrow, perhaps?
I nodded.
Or later, if I get the time.
Well, you know where to find me.
Right.
I said. I definitely knew. This was the first time I'd seen him outside the lab or his office. He waved at us and continued to walk by, disappearing around the other end of the corridor.
Okay, did anyone else find that strange?
Linda quickly returned to her normal self.
That your nickname has two meanings? That you're the princess of an icy land and you freeze like a block of ice as soon as someone who outranks you appears?
Joyce teased. This time, Linda didn't take the bait.
I'm serious.
She pressed.
Well, I agree with her.
I said.
I don't think it was a casual request. I think if he was out here looking for assistance, he really must be on the edge of a breakthrough. The project is already ambitious.
Joyce wrinkled her nose.
I'm not sure I'd call designer pets ambitious, Taylor. In fact, I think having an animal walking around with me that's almost as intelligent as a human is downright creepy. Can you imagine? Good morning, Master. I brought you this dead bird. Hope you like it. Just think about it.
I think it's us putting ourselves as gods. Science should enhance nature, not rewrite it in our own image. That's the folly of gods.
Linda said, punctuating the statement with a shiver.
Ooh, look at you. Very profound.
Joyce grinned. I wasn't sure if it was teasing or genuine praise.
Look around you. Do you see any gods here?
I asked, raising my voice.
What do you suggest we study instead? A cure for diseases? PanTech has already cured them all. Genetic defects? PanTech has already corrected them. Cancer? Eliminated for hundreds of years. A better treatment for injuries? Short of making someone invincible, PanTech can stabilize and treat almost any injury you can imagine if the right kit is available, and a medic can administer it. PanTech can even regrow new organs if one is damaged. This isn't an adversity zone.
Linda frowned, likely missing home. She needed the reality check. They both did. The feeling, though, I knew well. Upon arriving here, they brought us up to speed on so many important things, and there was still so much left to learn. The very things that plagued us in our adversity zones did not exist here. They solved most problems a long time ago. This included all supplies and materials. Every type of resource is mined and processed with very little human involvement, and the same process replenishes them, nearly all done by machines. Manufacturing was completely automated, and they could adjust it to meet any demand at the slightest whim. Algorithms could solve deep mathematical questions in machines with programs called Real-Time Adaptive Integrated Learners, or RAIL. Creativity and imagination were all that remained. Ironic, so ironic, that the organization with the slogan, Strength Through Adversity, had now eliminated nearly all adversity from the human experience. To the point, they needed to manufacture it in order to give human beings any sense of purpose at all.
Rights and ethics are an ever-evolving problem, Taylor. Take it from me. I was an animal rights lawyer, remember? That is a problem that will never be solved so long as we and animals exist in the world.
Joyce said. Seemed she'd taken my outburst a bit personally. I shouldn't have said it that way,
You're right, but that's not what I meant.
I said, taking a deep breath and lowering my voice. I just mean that in the context of where we are, it matters. It's important. Also, I don't find it creepy or problematic at all.
I was a handler in my zone.
Linda chimed in, smiling at the opportunity to mention it again.
I tamed a thunder bear, 16 feet tall, they are. I first think to myself that there'd be no need for a trainer if animals are as smart as humans. But then I ask myself the more important question, the one I should have asked from the start. What would the world look like if thunder bears were as intelligent as us?
I sighed. Everyone struggled to adapt, to recognize that their past lives no longer reflected the reality of the world. Linda lowered her head and clutched her left elbow with her right hand. Gah! Stupid, stupid Taylor. One of my only friends, and I was making her feel terrible.
Sorry, it's a good question. It's just that you have to remember the weapons and military capabilities PanTech has. There are labs here that can code viruses to wipe out their entire species, so contagious and with such a high kill rate that they'll cease to exist within a year, maybe 5 if they're spread out enough. There are weapons and armor. Well, you've probably seen them, and advancements in those currently being developed. That's not even to mention—
That's enough, Taylor. Sheesh, you're making me want to go jump out of a window.
Joyce snapped.
But she's right, you know. We need to study the real world more and accept that things aren't like they were back home. We have to adapt, or we'll just end up fish out of water here.
Linda said, offering me a half smile.
You too? Well, they haven't figured out a way to make me not hungry yet. That's a problem with an obvious solution that can be dealt with right now. Now, are you big-brained ladies with me or against me?
With you, for once.
Linda cheered.
For once? What's that supposed to mean? I'm not sure why I love the two of you so much. You don't make it easy.
Joyce said, jabbing her elbow into Linda's arm.
Sorry, girls. I really need to check on Ghost. He's going to be upset with me as it is. How about you go ahead without me today?
Linda narrowed her eyes at me.
Are you sure? We went this way in the first place because we said we'd go check on him with you, then go to lunch together.
Yes, I'm sure. I think I'm going to do some extra studying, then go see what Barth was so excited about. I promise we'll go tomorrow.
Joyce threw her head back and sighed loudly.
Boring. Come on, Taylor. You can study any time. Let's check on Ghost, then eat. You're going to turn 70 by the time you're 20 at this rate.
Linda started.
Tomorrow.
I repeated.
That's our Taylor, completely immune to peer pressure. And fun.
Joyce teased.
But okay, we'll think of you while we're enjoying actual food.
Bye, Taylor.
Linda said, smiling and waving. I turned and walked the short distance back to my living quarters, holding my hand up to the door and watching it open in front of me. Using only the blood sample they'd taken on testing day back at the village, now everything that was assigned to me could be opened with only a wave of my hand if it was locked. I shuddered to think of what else they might have used the blood sample for. Stepping inside, I dropped my shoulder bag onto the closest table, unbuttoning the top 2 buttons of my shirt and stretching my arms out, enjoying the moment of freedom as much as I could.
Sorry for running out on you, Ghost. Stupid meeting again.
I said, pushing open the door into my bedroom. Ghost seemed on edge, which shouldn't really be that surprising, I suppose. Between the meeting and the spectacle in the hallway, this was the longest I'd left him alone since arriving. He eyed me, then glanced behind me.
No, I will not go out again tonight. Going to eat one of these gross nutrition packs and catch up on some reading. That all right with you?
I picked up the canister off my nightstand, holding it up in front of him.
See? Apple flavor. I don't know about you, Ghost, but I think I'd rather just eat apples and suffer malnutrition.
He looked at me, then behind me again, this time more frantically. I sighed.
Seriously, I'm sorry. Starting next month, we may be able to travel outside, and I'm going to see about tagging along with the soldiers to different zones. I make it seem like I'm adjusting well, but all I ever think about is getting out of this stuffy place. Oh, and no more of this company culture meeting garbage? It's not that I dislike the research, I just don't think I can lock myself up in a lab all day, every day, like Barth does. I need to get out in the field sometimes, too. What do you think, Ghost?
He flared out his wings, looking behind me. It didn't seem like I'd upset him. He was trying to tell me something. I spun around, instinctively flowing into the fighting stance Mother had shown me. As quick as I turned, I felt a firm grip on both of my wrists before I could even focus on the face, sending me falling back onto the bed. It was a woman with bright red hair and green eyes, her face covered in freckles. A face I was very familiar with. I almost didn't recognize her outside the armor. She pinned my arms above me and smiled. Fighting back was impossible against this woman, with the strength of the enhancer in her body. I shouldn't be afraid of her anymore. I knew the rules forbade her from hurting me now, but too many memories lingered of our previous encounters.
I don't enjoy being ignored, Taylor. How are you going to make it up to me,
"You're hurting me," I said, intending the words to be a roar. Instead, they were barely a whisper.
Oh, I can hurt you a lot more than this.
She growled, nearly touching her nose to mine, her hair falling around my face.
This is nothing.
I sucked in a deep breath. You don't need to be afraid of this psychopath anymore, Taylor. Show her you won't be pushed around. Linus wouldn't have let her treat him this way. "Let go of me, now!" I shouted. Her smile faded, her eyes widened, and she loosened her grip on my wrists. I pulled my hands free and shoved her back, sending her off me far enough to allow me to sit up.
I.
She nearly spoke, but I interrupted. "Why are you here?" I growled. "To keep my promise," she said. Chapter 3.
Your promise, huh? I'm listening.
I said, crossing my arms. She needed to see me keeping a level head, not being afraid, not getting angry. It was all a farce, of course. All I wanted to do was cry. This woman was explosive and unpredictable and could easily rip me in half with her bare hands. She didn't seem like an evil person, but evil people aren't the most frightening. It's unpredictable people by a landslide.
Well, your bird is here. Had me fooled on that one. Thought it was a cleverly disguised vulture, but here he is, a real genuine shadow falcon. I thought it was just something you backward desert people made up for your tall tales.
Should I release him from his cage and give you a closer look?
I said, in the most threatening tone I could fabricate. She laughed.
You think I couldn't swat him from the air like an annoying fly before he performs his little trick?
I don't know that for sure, no. Remember the state you found the man I killed? Paralyzed and bled to death in seconds. Never saw it coming.
She walked toward me, slowly. I took a step back before steeling myself. She circled behind me, leaning in close, whispering.
Your heart is racing. I can hear it. Your slow breathing is forced, and I can see the sweat forming on your skin. My physical strength isn't all that's heightened by my implant. My senses can be tuned as well. It can be a little overwhelming at first, but in time you'll get used to it.
I turned around to face her again. It seemed she wasn't here to hurt me after all. Considering how calm Ghost had been through this conversation, he must have come to the same conclusion.
How did you convince the higher-ups to allow something like that?
She laughed again, but even harder this time.
Convince the higher-ups? Are you daft? I didn't walk into the president's office or submit a formal request form if that's what you're wondering. It was more that I called in a favor with the military science division. I was their little test subject for this device, after all. And I suppose you wouldn't know since you're in animal research, but I was the first.
The first? You mean...
Yes, I mean I was the first to be outfitted with one of these little monstrosities, which means long-term side effects are unknown. Excited yet?
I took a deep breath. This changed nothing.
I still want one.
She grinned, opening the door to my room and waving me out.
Brave, bold little Taylor. You're a wild one, aren't you? All your friends think you're like them, but you're not. I know you better than anyone, better than yourself. There's no chain strong enough to bind you. That's something you and I have in common.
You and I are nothing alike.
I snapped, correcting her.
This is only the third time we've ever talked. The first time we've talked privately, you don't know me at all.
She shrugged, still grinning.
If you say so, Taylor. If you say so.
We left my living quarters and made our way to the opposite end of the building, where I hadn't been before. When she said the military science division, I assumed it would be in the same massive structure as all the other science divisions. That wasn't the case. We had to board a transport pod that shot us through a series of tunnels, landing us several miles away. I couldn't say how many. The distance traveled in mere moments, and it was impossible to make out anything aside from colored blurs through the clear windows. The travel pods were designed to eliminate the effects of fast travel on the body, but they still made me feel dizzy when I stepped off them. I'd only traveled in one once, and that was when we first arrived. I had mixed feelings about whether I wanted to run into my brother Ferris here. It was too short notice to warn him I was coming, and he probably wouldn't support me getting this implant. The commander would probably run her big mouth, and then he'd try to stop me. He always was protective, but I didn't need protecting, and neither did he. He was my older brother by a little more than a year, but he took the role of big brother seriously, even though it was me bailing him out of trouble more often than the other way around.
First time here?
She asked, grabbing me by the arm and leading me out of the pod as I struggled to stand stable. I thought at first she was going to throw me out, but she was surprisingly gentle.
You know, I've never asked your name.
I said.
Oh, you care about me enough now to want to know my name? What an exciting development. I'm not growing on you, am I?
She smiled when she asked, a little too widely. She was the last friend I probably needed here if I planned to stay out of trouble. For once. In fact, thankful as I was for her help, I really hoped this would be the last time I ever saw her.
No, it just seems strange that I never heard it and never asked. I only know you as Commander. I know that's not your name.
Frelia, and that's all right. Very few people know my name. I don't give it to just anyone, you know. You're special, Taylor. Very special.
Thanks. Mind letting go of my arm now?
I asked, noticing she hadn't released it, even after we'd stepped out of the pod.
What? Oh, right.
She quickly dropped her hand, walking toward the enormous building in front of us. Familiar architecture. The building stood with enormous stone pillars in the front, supporting a covered common area filled with uniform tables. Empty, of course. We had the same thing on my campus, also empty. Everyone preferred the simulated reality rooms to the real outdoors. I was told you could sit in any environment. Just sit in the chair and put on a lightweight headband, and suddenly you were transported to anywhere you wanted to be. It was almost as real as reality itself. I tried it once, but the feeling I got from it wasn't the feeling of amazement it promised me. I felt disconnected. It made me question reality itself. It was so close to real that it was nearly impossible to tell the difference. You could even sync with other users, and they could accompany you. No, my feeling was a disjointed horror that made me feel less human. I never used it again.
Do you ever sit outside, Frelia?
I asked, prompting her to stop her hurried steps.
You mean out here at these tables?
She twisted around, tilting her head. Yeah, it was probably a dumb question.
Or do you use the simulation room to relax?
The simulation room is stupid. Besides, I've kept a very close eye on you since you've arrived. What would you know about relaxing? I've looked through your access logs too. Seems you use all your time to study. You're like that beanpole professor you study under.
She turned around and continued into the building, not waiting for me to add anything. But I did anyway. I caught up to her and walked by her side. There was no reason to lead me around anymore. I wasn't a villager in one of her adversity zones anymore.
What's the matter? You seem to love getting into my business and learning about me. Don't like it when I ask personal questions?
That's right. I want to know everything there is to know about you, but I'm not interested in answering your questions. So what?
Why did I even want to know anyway? It was silly to have even asked.
Good afternoon, Frelia.
An older man in a lab coat said as he walked by us.
Where do you think you're going, Jer?
She asked, grabbing his arm just before he could make it out of reach.
Home?
No.
She said.
Remember the little favor I asked you for?
He yanked his arm away and walked back around to face us. He eyed me up and down before grinning at Frelia, then laughed.
You must be kidding. This animal division student?
Do you want me to knock that smile off your lips along with the head it's attached to? Or will you show me the proper respect?
He stood rigid.
Sorry, Commander Frelia. Forgive me for second-guessing you. I will, but only because you're useful. You are useful, aren't you?
Please, when have I ever let you down?
He asked, adjusting his thick-framed glasses. Vision was easily corrected here by a simple 2-minute procedure, so glasses were more often used as a visual tool for referencing data, or a fashion choice. If I were back home in my village, I'd have said the man was in his 60s. Here, it was impossible to tell. Occasionally, someone in our village would live to see 100. Very occasionally. They looked it, though. Here, I'd met several people nearing 200, and they didn't look a day over 80. Still walking around, still communicating clearly, all their hair. No cognitive deterioration. Everything here was indistinguishable from magic. Yet there was no magic to be found.
See that it stays that way, Jer. Follow us. I need you to install the implant.
He looked at me, then back at her. His face went pale.
I don't mean to second guess you after I just said I wouldn't, but no acclimation period? No staging? It will be uncomfortable or worse.
She put a hand on my shoulder.
Do you think I need you telling me that? Nowadays, any weakling can withstand the process. You don't need to be a true warrior anymore. What the general and I went through. Now that took guts.
With all due respect,
With all due nothing. Taylor will either be truly worthy of it, or she'll die during the adjustment. Or I suppose she could change her mind.
She turned her attention to me, smiling.
Well, Taylor, not afraid of a little agonizing pain, are you?
it's not the stress on the psyche that's more problematic. You are unique. This girl, I fear,
Jir protested.
Fear is something you're going to become very familiar with if you continue to argue with me, Jer.
I'll do it.
I said, interrupting them.
If Freya can handle it, so can I. I'm not afraid.
Frelia squeezed my shoulder and smiled.
Everyone here has forgotten what strength through adversity really means. They've gotten soft and they turn away from pain like cowards, fearing what's just beyond it. They get here and stop pushing their limits.
She reached out and grabbed Jer by the collar of his coat, yanking him forward, leading me gently by the shoulder with her other hand. We passed several other employees as we walked, but they treated this as a common sight. Perhaps it was, if Frelia was here often enough. Finally, we came upon a room with several chairs lined up side by side, those simulation headbands dangling from the ceiling.
strap her into the center chair.
I swallowed hard. Strapped in? No, I wouldn't back out, no matter what. I needed to remind myself why I was doing this. This was to give me any edge I could get against PanTech. They saw me as the girl who squashed a rebellion in her village, so they trusted me. But I'd never forgive them for what they did to Linus. Never. I sat down and waited for the multiple straps to be secured around all my limbs.
I will now insert the device into your brain, but don't worry. That's not the uncomfortable part.
Jir assured me. Or at least he meant to assure me. It had the opposite effect.
Stop dilly-dallying, Jer. We don't have all day.
Frelia scolded.
Are you ready, Taylor? Beyond this point, there's no turning back.
He asked, almost pleading.
I'm ready. Please proceed.
I said. I took a deep breath. Then another and another. You can do this, Taylor. Chapter 4. Without warning, he slipped the headband over my head, and I found myself sitting in darkness. No, not even darkness. Nothingness. I remembered why I hated these things so much, and it took this moment to illuminate it. Even with a world generated all around me, something inside my mind always felt unsettled. In an instant, a lush green forest appeared around me, and I was sitting in a clearing. I'd never seen such a place before.
Do you like it?
Frelia's voice asked, just before she appeared in front of me.
Where is this? I don't recognize it from the company catalog.
I said, noticing how realistic the environment appeared. Not lifelike, but more convincing.
Extracted from my memories. Well, my nightmares, to be more specific. I like to relive them, to remind myself where my strength came from so I don't become soft like the others.
Why would you...
I stopped speaking, noticing a burning sensation washing over me. Comforting, in a way. It was warm, like lying in the midday sun.
Why am I feeling things in here?
She grinned.
You are and you aren't. That sensation you're feeling of your body heating, it's going to get worse. Much worse. You're going to feel like your skin is literally on fire. Your brain will feel like it's being boiled inside of your skull. You'll want to tear off your own flesh just to escape it. There are only two ways to escape it. The way I did it and the way the three who came after me did it.
I could feel the heat intensifying and tried to brace myself. It only took a few seconds to realize that bracing myself would be useless.
Just tell me.
I shouted.
Overcome it or die.
What?
I clutched my sides, finding it hard to even arrange my thoughts, much less speak them into words.
You never said...
My memories will help you focus on that fire burning in you now. It will become your killer or your weapon. It should only belong to the worthy. The power is wasted on the weak.
I opened my mouth to argue with her, but another voice interrupted me.
So this is where you were hiding, Frelia?
Two men entered the clearing, wearing only furs to cover them below the waist. They were some of the largest men I'd ever seen, and muscled, as though they'd been given stimulants. Both their bodies were covered in terrible wounds, but they seemed completely unaffected. They spoke to Frelia, but looked at me. That's right. This was her memory.
We're the only two left, but they said there was a third. We knew no true warrior would hide, so we came to deal with the coward. Having someone ambush the victor would be an embarrassment for our people.
Frelia mouthed the words that came next, her face expressionless. The voice sounded like it was coming from me.
I'm sorry. Someone shoved me in at the last second. I don't want to fight, please.
One man approached me and clutched my throat. He lifted me into the air as if I were a cloud. The pain shot through my body now, nearly unbearable.
You'll feel pain here too, I designed it that way.
Frelia warned. A bit too late. I clutched the man's hand as I struggled to breathe, but he ignored me like an insect biting him. He drew back his fist and slammed it into my face. My vision blurred. I could feel every bone in my face shatter in real time. He dropped me to the ground, and before I could fall, kicked me into a tree that was behind me.
So small and frail. If only you had more strength, more power. If only you could take that rage inside you and synchronize it with your muscles.
My vision went completely dark for a moment, before I found myself jolted into the same position I started in, kneeling in the clearing. Before I considered what was happening, the pain intensified again.
So, this is where you were hiding, Frelia?
This time I jumped to my feet, picking up a stick from the forest floor.
That's right. Your imagination can alter this reality within the realm of possibility, but your half-hearted gesture will yield pathetic results.
Frelia's commentary didn't exactly help. It felt more like she was antagonizing me than supporting me. I swung the stick at the man who punched me last time, but the other grabbed it from my hand like I was a child, driving his own fist into my face. Blackness again. This time, I grabbed a handful of dirt, waiting for them to appear. Before they could acknowledge me, I threw it in their faces and went for the knife on one man's belt. He caught my hand and snapped my wrist. The pain felt real, but paled compared to the rising heat in my body. Blackness.
Not every fight can be won by outsmarting your opponent. Intelligence can help you avoid a fight, but when fights are unavoidable, it's strength that allows you to win them.
Another lecture from Frelia. She was really making me angry. The burning sensation was familiar. Not the same, but like burning rage, if it was allowed to leave the mind and take a physical form in my muscles. The men appeared in front of me, and I allowed myself to feel all the suppressed anger I'd been bottling up. I'd always seen it as my problem. For once, it might be my solution. I ran toward them, screaming at the top of my lungs. With all my might, I swung at one man's stomach. It landed without effect, and with one swift kick, I was sent against the tree again.
It's not enough to be angry, Taylor. Anger from the weak is like a puff of smoke in a tornado. It means nothing.
Blackness again, but I immediately ran upon the world resetting. I cried out, charging from the clearing, and in the direction I knew the men would come. They were facing one another, speaking, and it alarmed them to hear my voice. I picked up a rock, then jumped on one man's shoulders, slamming the rock into his head. He collapsed to one knee, but the other man quickly tore me away from him and slammed me into the ground, beating me unconscious.
Control your breathing. Let your rage fill your body. They're bigger, but only appear stronger. That's the real illusion. Understand that you are a goddess before mortals. Your mind only has to accept it for it to be true.
I ran forward again, but this time I imagined myself faster, like the panther from my homeland that nearly killed me. It could leap through the air, the height of 3 men. But now I could too. I jumped up into the trees and kept quiet. Dropping down, I choked the man, nearly crushing his neck, every bit as strong as they were. There was a struggle that went on for a while before both men took me to the ground. Blackness again. It wasn't enough. I needed more.
Is that all the ambition you have? You can push your body beyond limits you could only dream of, and you choose to be the equal of what men have been capable of for thousands of years. At this rate, you'll—
I ran off before she could finish. I couldn't focus on a single word she said anymore. Never had I felt so much pain in my life. It made terror ants seem like nothing. I ran into the men and punched with both my fists at once, sending them onto their backs and incapacitated. Blackness, but why? I'd beaten them this time.
Frelia, can you hear me?
The scenario is resetting. I'm not sure why. Focus on your breathing.
She replied. A scene materialized in front of us, and I nearly fainted at the sight. Before us was the giant snake Linus, and I fought on the outskirts of my village. Though we'd killed it, it lived on in my nightmares, second only to one far worse.
Taylor, you're willing this memory into the system. That's unexpected, but good. You can win this fight now, too. Alone.
The snake's eyes peered right through me as it flicked out its tongue. It coiled, and I knew all too well the signs before the strike. It struck at me with incredible speed and power. But I was ready. Planting my feet firmly into the sand, I grabbed both fangs when it was upon me. They were hard as stone and allowed me to stop the beast in its tracks. I held even with it at first, before twisting it with all my might. Despite my new strength, this behemoth proved too much to overpower. Still holding onto the fangs, I ripped them from its mouth, sending it flailing onto the ground. I landed hard on the sand, but quickly rolled back onto my feet, leaping through the air and slamming both fangs into its skull, deep enough to enter its brain. It raised its head high into the air before collapsing, dead. I landed on my feet. Blackness. Would this ever end? I hated PanTech, and it seemed I'd forgotten just how much. I'd pushed the memories deep down and told myself I shouldn't feel them anymore. Had this only made it worse? The scene manifested again. It was the worst nightmare of all, and I wasn't ready to see it.
Turn it off!
I screamed.
Frelia, I don't want to see this.
Frelia seemed just as shocked as I was, and offered no answer. She looked on with clenched fists.
So, this is what it looked like, huh? If you were strong enough.
No!
I screamed, putting my hands over my ears.
Turn it off!
She ran over to me, yanking my hands away.
If you were strong enough, you could have fought at his side. You could have saved him. These events aren't once in a lifetime, Taylor. Trust me. Do you want to watch something like this happen again? Be strong. Choose strength.
But these are PanTech soldiers in power armor. They're too strong.
Accept your gift. Those who were strong before have now become weak.
As the scene played out, I found myself locked in the large animal cage, just as I was before.
If you let her out, I'll kill you.
Linus said to no one. Kara wasn't here, only Frelia and I. Would I really have to watch this again? I couldn't. I wouldn't. Peter raised his gun to shoot Linus, but just as before, Linus was too quick. He shot him. Peter's blaster fired prematurely into the desert sand below, sending up a cloud. I kicked the heavy door off the cage and ran toward them. Oscar activated his blaster, and I could hear the low hum as though I had enhanced my hearing 100 times. But the distance was so much to cover, and this would all play out so quickly. I ran faster. It felt as though I was manipulating time, slowing the surrounding events rather than speeding myself up. He raised the blaster, but before he could level it, I grabbed his hand.
You!
He shouted, grabbing my wrist with his left hand, trying to free himself. Even with the strength of the armor, he couldn't budge me at all.
But how?
I tightened my grip on his hand, causing the armor to split, then break, crushing his hand along with it. He shrieked in pain, letting go of my wrist and throwing a punch at me. I dodged it easily, moving around to his side, wrapping my arm around his neck and squeezing it. With almost no effort, I heard a loud snap, and he fell to the ground. I looked up, desperately trying to see through the cloud. Was Linus still there? Was he alive? When my heart had slowed and my eyes focused, I saw him standing there, balancing the rifle on his shoulder. He tipped his hat forward with the other hand and smiled.
We did it.
He said.
We.
I tried to repeat the same thing, but choked on the words. Tears poured from my eyes. I ran toward him, but no matter how fast I ran, he got no closer. He was frozen there, smiling, tipping his hat to me. Blackness. I didn't care anymore. My anger no longer burned, extinguished by the tears. All I could do was cry. Chapter 5. A painful grip on both my shoulders pulled me back into reality.
For what it's worth, I'm sorry.
Freya said. My eyes slowly adjusted. I felt terrible, like I'd fallen out of a tall building and was being kept alive with technology, though I should have been dead.
What? What?
For what happened to Linus. This is the last time I'll say it. I'm sorry.
I don't need your apology, but thanks anyway.
I said. I wanted to say a lot more than that, but thought better of it. I couldn't exactly tell her, a PanTech commander, how much I hated PanTech. It was their fault. All of this was their fault.
Strength through adversity. We say it, but few of us understand it, and most of those who know forget quickly when dropped into comfort and luxury beyond anything imagined in their homelands.
How do you feel?
Jir interjected. Thank goodness.
Awful,
I replied. Understatement.
You should recover quickly. I've already administered a restoration cocktail to heal the damage you caused your muscles during the synchronization. The small amount of damage caused during the implantation process is already healed.
I looked at Freya.
Will I really be able to do all of those things I did in the simulation?
She grinned.
Not unless you wanted to get all your organics replaced with synthetics. Short of that, hardly. Considering the stress it places on your body, you really must pick carefully when to activate it. Synchronization joins its function with your thoughts for simple activation. If you don't specifically call upon it to increase a function of your body or mind, it is always dormant. Small increases in your strength can be used regularly. Big ones, well, say hello to torn ligaments, pulled muscles, and broken bones. The enhancer can help you heal those much more quickly than the average person, but nothing close to instantly. Sorry, Taylor, you're not a superhero.
So, what? Are you bluffing all the time?
I asked. Seemed the best way to get answers out of Freya was by antagonizing her, as dangerous as that was.
Oh dear, Taylor, I'm never bluffing. I know exactly what the device is capable of. Don't forget, I've had it longer than anyone. Besides, I'm the one who invented it.
I was stunned. This brutish woman? Even if you'd given me 100 guesses, I would have never picked her as the inventor of such a complex and powerful device.
You invented it?
I asked, my voice nearly a whisper, as though it were a secret. She huffed, narrowing her eyes at me.
Did you forget anyone accepted into PanTech must also possess high intelligence? Did you think I was the only idiot at headquarters? Honestly, Taylor, I thought you and I understood one another better than this. Besides, I only made this because they denied all my other proposals. PanTech's higher-ups really hate mixing human and machine. A long time ago, everyone was doing it, and the consequences were catastrophic. Or so we're told. You know how tight-lipped they are about embarrassing history. I've seen your search activity, remember?
I'd forgotten about that. Does this mean Freya had gone down the rabbit hole too, searching for PanTech's weaknesses? No, assume nothing. She may have been searching for the weaknesses so she could improve them. She seems loyal to PanTech. Don't trust her. She did you a favor for a favor. That doesn't make you friends. Keep a level head, Taylor.
Why was this allowed if cybernetics weren't?
It pushes the limits of what our bodies are capable of, but doesn't go beyond. General Marcus also helped convince the president we needed it to give the military an edge over any potential insurrection. You know the other part of PanTech's history that's clouded? Seems the adversity zones mounted a pretty good one a little over 100 years ago, with the help of the last remaining country not under PanTech's control to the east.
Doesn't matter what the details are. We know the ones that matter. They tried it and they lost.
I said, trying to mask my irritation. I'd done everything I could to find out what happened back then. The offensive lasted almost a month. They dealt heavy damage to PanTech during the first week, and it seemed they might have a chance. A week was all it took to mobilize PanTech's weapons, and all opposition was obliterated. Outnumbered thousands to one, PanTech ripped them apart in weeks. Days, really. It just took weeks to hunt down those who attempted to go into hiding. But what was the technology? How was it deployed? What reasons did the enemy state for the invasion? How did they track down those who tried to hide? All a giant blank space in the archive, which only meant the truth was inconvenient. It just meant that Freya was right about one thing she'd said. No one wants to rock the boat. They have it too good here. Every luxury and comfort you could ever imagine. Completely free to pursue your desires, whatever they are, as long as they don't endanger PanTech. I'd hoped to get Freya talking about those secrets sometime. I'd hoped that, as a commander, she'd know all the details. Seems I was wrong. She knew no more than I did. There were PanTech employees old enough to remember the battle, but I had a feeling they wouldn't be of much help either. I'd been told that most of them stayed in their quarters most of the time, hooked up to simulations, reliving old memories, no longer interested in creating new ones.
Nonsense.
Freya shouted.
How are you supposed to avoid a repeat of history, or worse, if you don't know what went wrong in the first place?
I sat forward in my seat, hopping off the edge and landing on my feet.
What? You mean like killing probably everyone involved and locking down the adversity zones so tightly they couldn't sneeze without the adversity management people knowing about it? I'd say they tied up their loose ends pretty well.
She took a step toward me, putting her hand on my cheek.
You're adorable when you think you have everything figured out, Taylor. That's what makes humans human, after all. When we're up against something impossible, it only makes us want to do it more. I've watched your little village, Taylor, and I've seen others. They're practically salivating for a chance to march in here and skin us alive. Oh, and you'd better get used to the idea that you're not one of them anymore, Taylor. You're one of us now.
I grabbed her wrist, feeling right now was as good a time to test the implant as any. A little more strength. Just a bit. Just enough to remind her, I thought to myself. I yanked her arm away from my face, and she clenched her teeth, taking a step to the side to gain her balance.
Good. You're a quick learner,
she said with a smirk.
I had an excellent teacher.
Things have been quiet in your zone, so I have time on my hands here. Thanks to you. How about we meet here and do more training tomorrow?
She asked. Though her tone was a bit more gentle than usual. Was she lonely and just wanted someone she saw as being like herself to spend time with? It's not like she'd give me a straight answer if I asked. I still hadn't decided if I should stay as far away from her as possible now that I had what I wanted. Staying close to her would have its benefits, but would it be worth the danger?
No, I want to stop by Professor Barth's office and help him with the big project at Animal Research. I promised him I would come by later if I had time. I'm not sure how long we'll be working on it. Could be days or months. If I have extra time, I'll stop by.
I've added travel clearance for you to come here. This implant can also help you with thinking more deeply, quickly, and about multiple variables at once. It's one of the bigger benefits because it's hidden. Use it conservatively. It can cause some pretty serious headaches and cause you to become unstable if you use it with too much power or for too long. Experiment. I've found that I can lose a bit more sleep when needed. It's like a supercapacitor embedded in your brain. It saps a small amount of energy from you passively and stores it. That's another reason time has to pass between major uses. Don't get carried away is what I'm saying.
Before I could answer, Jir interjected.
We'll be collecting data like we do from all of them so we can learn more about what they're capable of. Your vitals and location data are part of that.
I didn't give you permission to do that,
I growled, putting my finger in his face, backing him against the console beside the chair.
It's standard. They all have it,
he said, raising his hands in the air.
Even mine,
Freya said, probably trying to reassure me. It wasn't working, but what could I do about it now? In fact, my little outburst probably only made it look like I had something to hide. I was being tracked all over this campus and headquarters anyway. I already knew that. Of course, they'd track these devices in case they'd need to recover them in the field. Deep breaths, Taylor.
It's understandable. I just don't like surprises, that's all.
You're the one who agreed to have experimental technology implanted in your body. No one forced you. Remember that?
Freya said, resting her hands on her hips.
You're right. I'll remember. If that's all, I'll be going now.
Have fun with your new toy.
Freya said. Jer raised his hand.
Come back here if you experience side effects, especially a rise in body temperature, loss of feeling in your extremities, seizures, and that sort of thing. It will trigger an automatic alarm here, but it will still be quicker if you come to us. Most of the scientists here can check.
Freya interrupted.
I'd prefer if only Jer and I knew about this for now. Not that I care what the others think. I just don't have the patience to answer the long list of idiotic questions I'll no doubt be buried in. Jer's were already bad enough.
I considered protesting, saying something about how they should have maybe told me about the potential for these side effects before sticking the thing in my brain. Once again, I had to accept the responsibility for everything that might come along with it. It was easy to get angry with Freya, but I didn't exactly ask her questions. Whether she'd have answered them would be a different story, but I should have asked. It wouldn't have made any difference. I now had an advantage over everyone short of adversity management commanders. Freya was keeping it a secret from everyone who didn't need to know for convenience, and I could definitely use that. If I could keep this to myself, the advantage is that much greater.
No problem. I'd prefer to keep it quiet too, for the same reasons. My friends would ask way too many questions. If I feel anything going wrong, I'll come right away.
Good. Get back to work, Jer. I have other things to do too. Good luck with your animal experiments, Taylor.
Her tone was pure disgust. I'm sure in her mind she couldn't possibly understand why I'd choose the animal experiments over sharpening what's just short of a superpower. The reason was simple. Even though I hated PanTech, I joined the College of Animal Research for a reason. I wanted to be a part of the groundbreaking research currently underway, genuinely, and I was going to do everything I could to keep PanTech from perverting it into something used to make everyone's lives more difficult. This was how I'd make a difference. Now, with this implant, I could even more easily impress Professor Barth with my mind and gain his trust. Things were finally going my way, though I couldn't help but ask myself one important question. How long would it last? Chapter 6. By the time I made it back to my living quarters, it was late. Most employees would be snoring right about now. I really felt like doing the same. Every muscle in my body ached, like everyone in PanTech took turns hitting me like a piñata. I stood in front of the door, thinking the whole situation over. I could head to bed now, get an early start, get the much-needed rest. That would be the wise, responsible, and reasonable thing to do. But since when have I ever considered all of that when deciding something? No point starting now. Professor Barth had said earlier he was on the verge of a breakthrough. That meant one thing was almost certain. He was not in bed, and probably hadn't seen a bed in days. He'd probably choked down synthetic nutrition paste and was slumped over his notes, trying not to fall asleep. Or maybe none of that was true, but showing up this late might be a move that impresses him. Taking a step back, I headed down the other end of the corridor and wound my way through the tight hallways that wormed their way through this enormous campus. It was so easy to get lost in here, and new recruits were doing it all the time. Spending so much time in the desert, my sense of direction was pretty sharp. Some were much sharper than mine. I'd already noticed an obvious pattern that gave it away. The higher level of technology available in their adversity zone, the less able they were to function independently of it. Things like remembering directions or performing complex calculations in your head became extremely difficult. Every day, I'd feel myself slipping, just like Freya warned, thinking thoughts like these. For a moment, I was thankful that I'd grown up spending so much time outdoors and had only primitive tools. I was thankful, yes, but it shouldn't have been forced on me. Judging by that simulation she manifested, Frillia's adversity zone must have been some kind of kill or be killed nightmare. It had turned her into a model PanTech citizen, praising the strength she'd gained through surviving those nightmares, and valuing suffering and the strength gained from it above all else. She didn't seem to like anyone aside from me and supposedly Linus. At any moment, she could snap over the smallest thing. Seemingly nothing. Was this what PanTech wanted? She could have been a normal girl. That's probably all she wanted when she was a child. So could I. PanTech takes from you with one breath, then asks you to thank them for it in the next. I stopped short of walking straight into the wall, lost in my thoughts. Animal Studies Lab 3 was etched into the metal plate on the door. The room was dimly lit, almost dark. I nearly walked away before I glimpsed Professor Barth's head rising above the high-backed chairs lining the opposite wall. I considered knocking, but I could tell he was in deep concentration. There was no evidence of it I could see, but I guessed by the way he was leaning back in his chair and gesturing to no one at all that he was deep in some sort of calculation or organizing information, running probability tests, or something like that. The only odd thing about it was the fact that gesturing was completely unnecessary. According to him, the version he was used to required it, and he didn't want to change to only using his eyes. I guess even PanTech employees can get set in their ways and resist new tech. Ironic in a way, downright blasphemous in another. I opened the door as quietly as I could and let myself inside, looking around for anyone else that might be there too. The room was empty, save for a row of animals in spacious cages, already deep in some kind of soothing simulation of their own. I'd been quiet enough not to alert any of them at least, including Professor Barth.
Ahem.
I cleared my throat in as low a volume as I could manage. Nothing. He continued throwing his hands about rapidly and mumbling.
Professor Barth,
I said, a little louder this time. Without removing his magic glasses, he finally acknowledged me.
Taylor, well, it took you long enough. Better late than never, I say. Well, don't just stand there like you're one of those empty chairs. Grab an optic aid and we'll sync up. You need to see this.
Following his instructions, I picked one up off the table and placed it on my face. I was clumsy with these. It was one thing that really freaked me out when I first got here, but I was really getting the hang of them now. The implant would definitely help with the rapid eye movements, just hopefully not too much. I booted up and gave a verbal command to sync to the nearest device, which happened instantly. Immediately, it flooded me with information. Piles of it, in every corner of my vision and beyond. By simply thinking it, I could move the space around in my vision, and my eye focus triggered a clearer look at each bit of information. Not that it helped, though this wasn't far off from what I expected the cluttered mind of a genius to look like.
What am I looking at, Professor?
Cell 13, look at the results of the simulation I ran on the compression of usable brain tissue and related energy targets.
I squinted, looking at it carefully. Aside from the one he mentioned, I saw thousands of previous attempts with different variables. This one was unique. Also a failure, but
This dog's brain, using these calculations and procedures, becomes virtually identical in function and capacity to a human brain. Does this mean that...
No, look at the results. Failure at the moment after success is still failure. It will complete, but the subject won't survive long enough to make even the slightest use of his or her capability. It is born and dies, no more advanced than an infant, and developmentally almost identical. Do you see my problem? In particular, do you see the problem?
Natural reproduction is impossible,
I pointed out.
No. You're thinking small, Taylor. Why is that the case?
I studied it carefully. I knew the question was intentionally near impossible to answer. He was testing me. He expected me to ask him what the problem was after failing to find it. I needed to use the implant to do it a little faster than he expects. Only a little. Dig deep down into the data to find the issue. I scanned the information rapidly. It was like speed reading, but many times faster, and with no change in how much information I could absorb.
There's a subhelix incompatibility on the omega strand. It doesn't respond to the procedure, creating a weak link that.
Barth excitedly rose to his feet, finishing the statement.
It creates an energy imbalance because it cannot adapt to the new energy expenditure. Though it takes the same amount of space, the evolved brain's density means it requires a higher intake of energy. It throws off the entire metabolism, which, if off even a slight amount, causes the body to fail quickly, especially with the improper allocation of the body's resources. Well done, Taylor. However,
My whole body tensed. Had I slipped up already?
I know you've worked hard, but you have to take your time and be more thorough in your analysis. Don't think I didn't notice how quickly you went through the data, only to stumble upon the correct conclusion by chance. You must resist the temptation to seek the quick answer and always choose to be thorough.
I'd guessed wrong. He was actually wanting me to slow down and focus under pressure, and I'd misread him.
Sorry, you're right, of course. I'll do better from now on.
He laughed and removed the device from his head, tossing it on the desk in front of him.
Nonsense. Considering the technology rating of your adversity zone and the short time you've been here, your adaptation to modern science and practices has been nothing short of astounding. These days, there are very few dedicated to animal research with the passion you and I have. It receives the least amount of praise from the higher-ups, and even on the cusp of such an amazing advancement, they still consider us the least important division. In fact,
He stood, motioning for me to follow him. I removed the glasses and scrambled to keep up, since he was already halfway across the room. We walked a short distance to his office, where he motioned for me to sit down. He snapped his finger, and a light background music played. Nothing I recognized. It seemed Barth was probably more sentimental than I'd realized. I should attempt to learn about the adversity zone he came from. He walked over to a cabinet in the room's corner, opening the door and pulling out a bottle and a glass.
drink?
He asked, waving the glass. Just as I opened my mouth to refuse, I reconsidered. The cabinet was ornate and obviously carved from a high-quality wood. It took a moment for me to realize what that meant here. I had scarcely seen anything made of wood since I got here. Everything was custom fabricated by large machines to exact specifications, made of synthetic look-alike materials. Focusing on the grain of the wood, this was genuine. If my theory was correct,
That cabinet. It's beautiful. Is this the belonging you took with you when you left your adversity zone and came here?
he froze in place, and for a moment, his smile faded. Only for a moment, though, before returning at double the intensity.
In all the years I've been here, you are one of only a handful to notice and comment on it. That attention to detail will serve you well.
You give me too much praise. And sure, I'll have a drink too.
His smile warmed even more as he poured us both a drink before returning the bottle to the cabinet and sitting. He took a sip, and I could sense the beginnings of a speech boiling just behind his lips.
I won't mislead you, Taylor. You should know I am a glory chaser. I'd like to sit here in front of you and boldly proclaim that I care only for the science, and I enjoy the lack of oversight that comes with not being the center of attention. With your perception, you'd see right through such an obvious lie. I know myself very well. In the beginning, I believed that was true. I was already a scientist before coming here, one of the youngest ever in my zone. They heaped praise upon me left and right. Every night I had dinner with a different politician or celebrity. It seemed like every month I was accepting a new award. I told myself it was all tiring and excessive, that it was impeding my research. Then the testing came, and shortly after, the world around me completely changed. I was no longer the biggest fish in a tiny pond. I was average. No more awards, no special treatment. Did you know that I've never met with the president of PanTech even once? It's true. All he cares about anymore is the military now that the general is in his ear every day, feeding his paranoia of another uprising.
He made air quotes with his fingers when he said general. Clearly, he disliked this man. Frelia didn't really talk about him much, beyond her admiration of his strength. Maybe he deserved the praise, and Barth was only bitter. Still, I needed to be very careful. Clearly, the professor had an ego. Unlike most, he wasn't even hesitant to admit it. This was another test. Think carefully before you speak. If you're enjoying F. Lockhaven's audio content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel.